All right, let's get started. Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for October 29th, 2024. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living, which is what we're exactly going to talk about today. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat feature, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we're streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We're going to start by recapping last week's Weekly Tittle, which was called Create Your Own Legend. The assignment was to dream up a positive story to replace some of the myths, misconceptions, or limiting beliefs about decluttering or organizing echoing around inside your head. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook. Who worked the tittle this week? Please let us know in the comments. We also offered an alternative tittle, which was to identify something in your home that you think you can't live without, then figure out how you would live without it. YouTube viewer BBBX4DP shared this comment. I'll do the alternative tittle. Years ago, our combination home printer and copy machine died. We never purchased a replacement. Now we go to the library if we need a basic printout or copy, and to an office store if we need a high quality print. We quickly realized how little we actually needed to print. It gets easier every year as more things can be done completely electronically.
What a great large object to release from your space. Those things have such a big footprint. They're like a big piece of furniture in the room. And it's true that you don't often have to print out anymore. I actually use my printer to scan documents in just as much as I use it to print. This is also a perfect example of something that we get used to it in the space and never take the time to reevaluate whether it's still necessary or not. Since yours broke, it forced you to think about it again, and you decided it could stay gone and not be replaced. And you got a huge area back in your office space. This is a great tittle report. You found that you could live without a printer after all. Good job. Printers are large, heavy, tall, hot, and they're a great thing to get rid of. So good for you.
Also, they're expensive. They're ridiculously expensive to keep going. They're
Yeah, the toner.
um Jaime watched a YouTube video some years ago that revealed this guy had done in-depth reporting on the cost of consumables. And one of the companies, I forget which one, maybe like one of the biggies, like HP or someone,
Right.
their markup on inkjet refills is 26,000%.
Oh my God.
It costs them literally pennies to have these things manufactured in China or, somewhere. And then they sell them to you for 30 or $40 or something. Yeah, 26,000% is the markup on inkjet print cartridges from
Oh my
some
God.
suppliers.
That is
And
so crazy.
it's a great example of the you think you can't live without it, but maybe try it for a while. I was one of those people who thought he couldn't live without having a printer. I've worked in printing. I've been a
Yeah,
designer
right,
and
right, right.
typesetter, and I've been a person who dealt with the printed word for my entire career and
Hmm.
thought there's no way I can live without having a printer in the home. Absolutely untrue. I have managed well without a printer now. We're probably coming on 10 years without a printer.
Hmm. And thank God that you're not, because I'm sure that you use printers with much more expensive toners because of the quality of the stuff that you were trying to generate.
Well,
And
it's not really because I typically wasn't trying to produce any finished material at home. It was just,
oh, gotcha, gotcha.
proofs and things.
Okay, okay.
Let's go to some comments. Marcia has this is not really a tittle report, but we love to indulge just reports about people who are doing great work in their organizing and decluttering efforts. And Marcia says,
Right?
I totally filled two large trash containers with shredded paper this week. As executor, I inherited a friend's files all the way back to 1990. He had evidently never shredded any statement, etc., in all that time. 34 years of paper.
OMG. That is
Yeah.
I mean, I could, in my head, I know exactly how big of a project that was. That was hours and hours and hours and hours of you pulling stuff out and trying to decide whether it's important or not and then getting it shredded. So kudos. Ooh, we're clapping for you. I'm sure that felt like a monumental win when you actually got to the bottom of the pile and the file cabinets were empty. I'm sure that was a big whoosh. You were relieved to be done with that project.
And
Great job.
we were talking about this before the show started, and you mentioned, considering using a service. She said a service wanted $600 because it was 20 bankers boxes of material. So what she did is she went out and bought four cheap little shredders for less than $100 total, and she uses them in rotation. So they have
Ooh,
time to cool off in between. So she's not burning up motors.
what a great
That's
idea.
really clever because people are always burning up their shredders trying to do too much.
I have burned through some people's shredder motors before because they go and buy the $100 one because it's gonna last longer, and then we spend 3 hours for weeks on end, 3 hours at a time for weeks on end, burning through paper, and eventually we kill it. It never fails that we kill it because they're not actually designed for high volume. That is never the goal or the target aim for all of those in-home shredders. And so what a great idea. And you will have gotten your money's worth out of it. You spent $100, got four rotating shredders happening, and you will totally have earned it was worth the money, and then you can donate them away when you're done.
Yeah,
If
exactly. I
you
was
don't
going
need
to
to
say
keep them.
if they're still alive by the end of the project, you can donate them.
Right. You can donate them away, right? And oh, that's great. That's clever.
Here's a fun one. Catherine says, cleaned out my sister-in-law's pantry, two vehicles to a pig farmer with 30 pigs. Cake mixes, cans, etc., all outdated. Great
And
homemade.
they went to go
They went to a
be
pig
pig
farm.
food.
Yes, because pigs are somewhat
We'll
less
eat
discriminating in
everything.
what they will eat. Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. Wow. I bet they got a lot of old sugar.
Right?
Well, they
Yes.
probably were some happy pigs then. I've never thought of that as a way to empty the pantry. That's a new one on me. You have given me a new option. That's so funny.
Jane says, my mantra was changed to something is better than nothing. A friend came by Saturday to help with the garage shelves. There's still work to be done, but still am pleased with the progress made.
There you go. And if you see progress, it is energizing. It does make you want to keep rolling when you start to see progress. So, and nobody wants to spend a gazillion hours in the garage. It's hot, it's gross, it's dirty, it's what? So why not do it in shorter bursts over time? And good for you that you did that and you got some help in there to help you do it so it wasn't as boring or awful. And good job. That's a good one.
Paula says, I helped a friend pack up her kitchen for a move. She clearly didn't have good inventory control, as so much food was years past the best buy date. It was a good reminder to go through my own pantry.
So I'm hoping that you got to throw away some of that instead of packing all of it. That would be a good thing. Kitchens take forever to pack because there's
Yeah.
always so much stuff in there. So good job. Yay. Y'all are
Let's
killing
see.
it. Out there helping other people do it, asking friends to come and support you. I'm super proud of you guys.
Let's see what else we got. They have falsely accused HP because Suzanne says, when I purchased my printer, scanner, email, fax, I did my research and purchased an AP, but my an HP, but my printing costs are much lower than printing elsewhere. My university peers who went with the free printers that came with TVs paid for ink through the nose. And my
Right?
printer is still going already 14 years or so and still going strong. Um,
Cool.
it may be. Epson that was the bad one. I don't know. I
Well,
think yeah,
they're all super high. That's
yeah.
just the bottom line.
Well, I think we should get on to our main topic. There are more comments I need to
Yeah, I
filter
see a
through.
chat going
Yeah,
by,
there's
but
a lot going on, but we have a lot to cover too. So let's get to it.
okay.
Clutter is anything that stands between you and the life that you want to be living. What new things and experiences could you make room for in your home and your life if all the clutter was out of the way? Today, we're going to explore how clutter interferes with our best lives. That's in quotation marks, best lives,
Right.
and suggest strategies for gaining more clarity about and control over our stuff.
So we wanted to talk about this today because we wanted to, I mean, our title says create a clutterless life. And we don't mean actually zero clutter. No one has zero clutter or,
Hardly anyone.
a thin slice of the population has zero clutter. And we just wanted you to think about and aim for, if your life had less clutter in it, what would you be able to do? And imagining what that would look like, imagining how your life would change, imagining uh, what kinds of things would be happening, and what kinds of things you would be surrounded with. And so then Ed went to the survey thing. So let's talk about our survey results. We asked these questions more specifically in the survey. And so we're going to talk about what you guys said about how you wanted your clutter-free life to look like. The first question we asked the audience was, what is your clutter keeping you from having, from being, or from doing? Describe how your life would be different if all of your clutter disappeared overnight. What new or familiar activities, experiences, or things would you invite into your space? And we, as usual, we got a bunch of responses.
Laura, one of our crafty chick responders, as Gail described her, said,
Right?
My backlog, my backlog of projects that I had intended to complete is making me feel guilty and unable to move forward with new ideas.
A lot of artists and crafters feel this way. Getting stuck when the unprocessed chaos becomes greater than they can face. I do get phone calls from crafters who, any kind of an artist that has a studio with a bunch of supplies in it. I often get calls from those people saying, the chaos in my room is so bad now that I go into the room and turn around and leave, or I can't tap into my creative juices because they feel completely overwhelmed by the chaos in front of me, or I don't feel like I have any ideas. I don't have any fresh ideas. I can't feel creative or do anything creative because the room, the chaos, the supplies, the overstuffing of the contents is distracting them. And so this is something that, if you like to do that kind of, if you're artistic creative and you like to do that kind of stuff, and a room is preventing you from making that happen, that is definitely needs to come to the top of the list so that you can clear it out. Because getting back to doing that crafty thing that you think is fun, being that artist that you like to be, totally worth it and so enriching when you can do it. And so we don't want that to be blocked.
Yeah, I'm gonna it's kind of a spoiler alert, I guess, to say at this point in the show, what we're hoping to encourage you to do is be living your best life now while you're still doing the decluttering and organizing.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, Dulce offered this comment. If I could better utilize my built-in shelves and cabinets, it would enable me to clear off the flat surfaces in my living room. I could then have a guest over and sit in the space to enjoy a cup of tea. Also, if I could declutter my garage, it would enable easier parking the car, or I could set up my exercise glider in there instead of the bedroom.
Ooh, those are all really great goals. I really like that. So, A, you want to clear off the living room so you could have a friend over and, enjoy their company. That's great. You want to have socializing back in your life. Good goal. And clearing out the garage so that you can park the car. That's a great thing. I did that with my mother. I worried about my mother a lot because um, the garage became her junk room while she was renovating her house, and all the stuff that the designer didn't want her to use and all the stuff that she didn't have a place for in the house ended up in the garage. And so she couldn't park her car inside. And then
And
winter would come
right. And
and
her
snow would
driveway was
happen.
her front yard and driveway were a little steep.
Well, yeah, a little
Yeah, a
sloped,
little
right?
slope to them.
And so then I was worrying all the time that my mother was getting out of the car in the snow and walking on snow and the ice on the concrete on the slope to get to the sidewalk in the front door. And it's like that just was nerve wracking to me. I was worried about her all the time. So we did go, and that was one of the projects that we worked on together. I went up there, and during one Christmas holiday, I spent some time with her, and we cleared out the garage enough so that she could park the car in it. And then we worked on the rest of the stuff in other trips. But I was so relieved when she could come in and park the car and be walking on flat, dry concrete, and taking things out of the car was not something she's trying to do on ice and snow. And so it was a big relief for me when we got that done, and totally worth it. Totally worth the effort. It's so much easier in Houston. It's the difference between your car being 1 million degrees in July when you get into it, or only 90 degrees when you get into it. When it's summer and it's hot outside, the garage is hot too. But if the car is in the shade of the garage, then it's at the actual air temperature. It's not at, nuclear temperatures for the multiplying effect of having the sun beating down the car. So it was always my goal to get my car into the garage. And I was super happy when I finally was able to do that.
Well, and Dulce's comment is one of the recurring themes. The wanting to have a guest over,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to be able to entertain, wanting to be able to have company in your house is
Yeah,
something that
social time.
we hear an awful lot about from people as one of the reasons that they're doing this.
And
Um,
and we don't want to block that.
Brenda dreams of less time spent looking for items.
And isn't that a good incentive for making a change? If you spend hours looking for things you want, how annoying is that? And I find it super frustrating when I know there's something in the house. Like as part of the moving process, I had to pack up I have some umbrella lights here with big light bulbs that are light to put light on me during the recording. And I couldn't find the light bulbs. They were in a box, and I kept unpacking and unpacking and unpacking and not finding the light bulbs. And it was annoying me because I needed the light bulbs. It's annoying as you're digging through stuff and you know perfectly well that something is here in the house somewhere and you can't find it. And it just annoys you to no end as you're looking and looking and looking and not coming up with it when you know perfectly well it's there. And so, who needs that annoyance factor in their life? If you could declutter enough so that you could not have to spend all that time looking for stuff, you could go put your hand on it immediately. How great would that be? Wouldn't that be wonderful? It's a great thing to attain.
Ria says, finished redecorating every room and remodeling kitchen and baths. Would like to entertain more and enjoy my home more.
Now
Sounds like
that
she's close.
Right. Now that everything's renovated, it's a perfect time to have people in to see the new space and spend time with your friends. There's another person that is looking for that social time and that that entertainment enrichment of being around people that you care about. And if you spent redecorating all the house, I'm sure that's was a very long timeline of project that need to get done. And so it's probably been a while since people have been in your house to socialize with you. So get on it. If that is, if you have to get to the end of that, make it happen and have some people in. I
Ernestine
like it.
says, Ernestine says, if all the clutter disappeared overnight, I could be cooking and baking more creative things. I could be looking at a house of my own to buy. I could have room to do creative things with arts and crafts too.
This is making space to do something that you love to do. Being creative with cooking, with craftiness, both. It's a worthy goal, isn't it? It's a worthy goal. That creativity is so rewarding in itself. And I always find you are so enriched by being creative in whatever you do. And Ed is that person that cooks and bakes creatively, and he finds that very enriching. And I do the bead stuff, and I find that very enriching. And it's a way to spend time that brings so much back to you. And so being able to get the clutter out of there so that you can do those things. What a great goal, and how enriching it would be for your life. Very worth it.
Lee says it would be easier to clean. It would be
Mm.
so much nicer to be able to have visitors over, especially on the spur of the moment.
Who doesn't want that chore to take less time? Cleaning is not a chore that somebody wants to take longer. And being able to spontaneously invite people over when the spirit moves you, or to be able to receive surprise visits without any worry, that sounds like a blissful social life to me. Wouldn't that be a great thing to do? So, um, decluttering so that you can clean easier, spend less time at that, spend more time hanging out with people that you care about. What a great idea.
Now, you mentioned that's sort of where what you keep as your ongoing
Mm.
goal in your house is
Right?
you're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for, if somebody tells me they're stopping by, it would be nice to be able to get it in order in 30 minutes or less,
Right? Can I
right?
just like pick
Something
up
like that.
stuff? Yeah, get through the extra scattered stuff that's sort of around. I can pick all that stuff up and put it away quickly and complete, basically sort of complete the decluttering loops that haven't been done um, as part of my daily life. Get the mail out of the way, get the dishes in the dishwasher that are still, that haven't been put up. The basic, cleanup is pick up a little bit in the living room so that when somebody comes in, yes, I live here, but it's enough for people to come and look. And and that to me means that I'm maintaining the house well enough that whatever little bit that I haven't had a chance to do yet can be done before somebody comes. That's what I'm going for. I'm definitely not there yet. Not in the new house. I was there in the old house, but I'm not there in the new house.
Not yet, but that's just the transition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just the time.
Ginger says, I would be able to relax more and focus on the fun hobbies I enjoyed before my focus shifted to get rid of clutter. My hobby seems to have become obsess about clutter and punish myself by not allowing myself to do other things until I've resolved it.
Wah,
And
wah.
and I think this survey made me face this thought process. So I'm thinking about how to change this.
Well, that treadmill of obsessing about clutter and not allowing fun things in your life because of it is a good one to step right off of. You don't want to be in that place. I'm glad that you've realized that that's what you're doing. That's the first step to making a change that will improve your life. So maybe you need to trade off a bit of clutter reduction work for some fun hobby time back and forth. This is an example of, we've talked about this before, in the very basic level, to stay motivated and to keep working on it, you can't wait to be happy till you get to all the way to the end of the decluttering. Like whatever you declutter today, you have to be happy about it and we talk about doing the happy dance when you get, 3 hours done or 2 hours done or whatever sorting you got done, like woohoo, I got something done. As opposed to turning around looking at all the rest of the stuff that's waiting to be done, you have to celebrate along the way. And this is an example of, you don't need to punish yourself for not getting it done all the way until it's 100% done. I think if you're taking steps towards it every day and you're working on it every day, then you can trade and say, okay, I did, 2 hours of decluttering. So now I can come over here and do 2 hours of knitting. You can go back and forth between the two as a reward for spending the time decluttering, because there is no point in making this a punishment. There's no point in saying you're not allowed to have fun because you're not facing this chore. Like that motivation is never going to solve the problem. You're going to be angry all the time. So yeah, let's let that one go. Let's totally let that one go. And do a trade out. I'm going to do a little fun. I'm going to do a little decluttering. I'm going to do a little fun. I'm going to do a little decluttering. I'm going to do a little fun. And get some of that fun back into your life. Some of that fun hobbies that you enjoyed before. I think it'd be important to add them back.
Okay, I'm gonna throw in a few more comments before we get back
Okay.
to survey results. Tammy said, I'm taking out 3 jelly jars with no lids I thought I needed to keep to drink out of. I have cups. I don't need them. Good riddance.
Good job. There you go. evaluating the kitchen and going, why am I keeping these things? I have plenty of things to drink out of. Good job.
Yeah. And then on the subject of being able to find things, Naomi says some new neighbors moved in next door while they were still renovating, so their stuff was still in boxes in the basement.
Mhm.
She told me that several times she was buying something she knew she already had because it was easier to buy again than to excavate from the stack of boxes. And
Err.
that's a special situation. They're going through renovations, but ooh, that's frustrating. And if she had, you know, maybe if she'd sufficiently labeled the boxes as she was packing, she wouldn't be going through that.
She'd be able
Maybe,
to go and find
maybe,
it.
but it
Maybe.
may also just be, packed in so tight it's just impossible.
Right. And then but it does suggest that when you go to unpack, when the whatever work you're getting done is complete and you're ready to bring those things back out of the basement, that you do that merge and toss process. Like, you've duplicated some of your contents, and so before you go and put them all back and have two of everything, make sure you pick the one that was in the box and pick the one that you bought, decide which one you like better, and let another one go, because you don't need to increase your contents out of this process, right? So just have in mind that part of the unpacking process will be to choose between what you had and what you bought, and let one of them go away. Don't put them all back in the house.
Okay, let's go on. Let's see, where were we?
Jean.
Jean says, I think the clutter keeps me too tethered to the past. Many pleasant things and some not so pleasant.
I do find this with clients. The objects in the house keep you focused on the past, and sometimes they have very unpleasant memories attached to them. If the object holds bad memories, then I encourage the client to let the object go as a way to release the bad memories too. No need to torture yourself with reminders of a painful past, for sure. It's your space, and it should make you feel warm and happy, relaxed and peaceful, not sad and stressed out. I think lots of people, when they show me the object and say, oh, I'm asking, is this staying or going? And they say, oh, that one is from my ex-husband, and this reminds me of my divorce, or this is from my childhood, and it was from camp, and we went to it, had a terrible I had a terrible experience at camp. There's a million reasons why something would have an unpleasant association with it, and I think we get used to the objects in the house, and or maybe we inherit them and feel like they have to stay, but then it's like, do they really? If they make you feel bad, then what is the point of them living in your house? If you associate it with something negative, you're not going to unassociate it from something negative. And so you might as well let it go live with somebody else who has no such association with the object, and let them have it and not feel bad when they look at it. There's no point in having an object in the house that rubs something in. And so I think that's a perfect goal to have. If you think there's too much clutter and the clutter ties you to the past too much, and it reminds you of unpleasant things, then that should be at the top of the list of get that bad,
Set,
memory out of there.
set yourself free from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, Suzanne, the last answer to this question. Suzanne said, I would have friends over to hang out, share a meal, or whatever. I would be more active physically and doing fun stuff like playing an instrument, sewing, rich reading time, etc.
This is the final vote for the return of having a social life. I think
Right?
that's super important. And, it isn't that you have to do something fancy. It's just the idea, like somebody said earlier, they just wanted to have somebody over for a cup of tea and a chat. And how easy is that? So you just want to be able to have that interaction time back in your life. And that is a very worthy goal and totally worth making the effort. If you can just um, think of decluttering as the way that you get your social life back, that is a really, really good reason to focus on it and try to make it so that you're comfortable to let somebody come over and hang out with you. And it doesn't have to be the whole house. That's the thing. It's like you can focus on a public area where you want someone to come and hang out with you and get that okay, and then start having that social life while you're working on other parts of the house. so that like I said, you're spending some time working on the house, you're spending some time interacting with people that you care about and back and forth. And so let it be the first goal that you make it so that somebody can come over, and then you can get that enrichment as a reward and keep going on the rest of the house, interspersed with more visits from people that you know. So I think that's a great goal. And clearly shared, it was shared across, I didn't pull all the survey results out. It was shared across everybody's. They wanted to get back to interacting with friends and family. They wanted to get back to entertaining themselves with their favorite hobbies and uh, activities. And that was something that they were reporting missing in their life. Saw it over and over in surveys. And so clearly you all have similar goals, and we need to keep those in mind and aim towards getting you back to it.
Okay, next we asked our viewers and listeners to describe an item in your home that you feel as if you couldn't live without. What meaning or significance does this item hold for you? What feelings does it evoke? Do you love it, need it, use it regularly, feel a sense of obligation about it, and so on? And Laura, the crafter, said, my sewing machine. I try to use it every day. If it died, I would replace it immediately.
So that one, I pulled that one out because it was like anybody that is using a sewing machine every day, that sounds like a good object to stay with you. Then, if you are
Right.
actually using a sewing machine every day, that is so not happening in so many other people's homes. And so good for you that you use it every day and that you would replace it immediately. That's a good one to keep.
Jean says aspirational stuff, including a guitar. No, it stands in my room wondering why I don't play it.
Uh, well, so here's an example of something staying that is not getting used as opposed to the sewing machine that is getting used. So then you have to ask yourself why. If you don't play it, is it really a keepsake instead? Is it an aspiration to learn to play? Or is there something that's blocking your intention to play? What is keeping it there as an aspiration instead of you getting into action around it? It's important to figure out what's blocking you from using it and why you're really keeping such an object. Will you not ever learn? Are you embarrassed of your skill level? Does it seem impossible to play? Did you do that as a young person but have lost some interest since then? I'm just wondering about what is getting in the way for you. And I think this is true for if you find something there that is, it's here, I feel so attached to it, but I don't actually use it. And there must be some reason why. So, let's ask the questions. Let's find out. Well, I don't want to play because I don't have the time, or because I don't feel like my skills are any good, or I don't have time to take lessons, or, fill in the blank. Like, ask yourself if you feel so attached to the object, what's preventing you from actually interacting with it in whatever way would be appropriate? If you can answer those questions and come up with an answer, which is, I never would actually interact with it after all, then you have to find out, are you just keeping it as a keepsake, or is this really something that you need to release and let somebody have? It's an exploration of why you have it, you feel attached to it, and you don't use it, and see what the answer is.
But yeah, that's what I was trying to get at that with this question, and we got some great answers about things that seem very reasonable to keep. An anonymous respondent said, my recliner, most comfortable chair in my house, use it every day. And of course, it's comfortable. Okay, it's comfortable, so it meets the, number one thing
Requirement.
a number one thing a chair needs to do is let you sit down comfortably.
Right?
And you use it every day. So we would never define this as clutter. I was hoping to get more answers in the vein of I'm keeping this and I don't know why I'm keeping it is not that clear to me.
Right, right, right.
Um, Ria said, a secretary that was my mom's, she knew I loved it, so made a point that I received it after she passed. I do love it, but if I downsized enough there wasn't room, I could let it go easily. I've enjoyed it 25 plus years, so feel no obligation but would be sorry to see a nice piece of furniture go.
And that's really, that's great that you got something that you loved and enjoyed from your mom. And then you've lived with it for several decades and you're comfortable letting go in the future if it's needed. It's a good mental place to be with such an object. And we don't always, my clients in particular, aren't always able to make that shift, to be the person that jettisons it out of the family. I think a lot of furniture that gets inherited and passed down gets endowed with family, the endowment effect for the family. Like the family owns it and it has to stay in the family. It's like, no, it doesn't. If if you're the one that got it and you are not, um, loving it and feeling like it's worth it, then send it on to somebody else who will love it. And so in this place, you have the item that you enjoyed and you've used it for a couple of decades. And so if it's necessary, you'll be willing to let it go. And how great. Like you don't have to pass it down to somebody just because it came from your mother. You can use it and now let it go out to somebody else if it's necessary. And I think that's a good place to be with an object.
Okay,
Excellent.
let's go to a couple more comments because there's been great discussion today, and I don't want to lose it. Paula says, I tackled unpleasant memories earlier this year when I went through items related to my husband's death.
Mm.
Took a few months to go through all the condolence cards and whatnot, as I could only do a few at a time. I'm so glad that damn box is gone and I never have to deal with it again.
Right? And because if you leave it sitting in the corner for a decade, it's just mocking you for a decade. So I'm very proud of you that you summoned the courage to face it and you did it a couple of cards at a time so that it wasn't uh, torturous as you sat down and worked on it. And, what a great idea to just do 2 or 3 cards at a time and experience them and write thank yous if you needed to and whatever you did around the cards and then let them go and come on to the next. And now the box is gone and you are never having to look at those cards again, which is wonderful. And I'm proud of you. That was a perfect way to interact with that box and to get it gone and not be if you pressed hard and tried to do it all in a big run, it would have been really, really difficult for you to do. And so you did it in a way that made it more palatable, made it more possible, and you still got to the end. So woo, good job. Proud of you.
Donna, who's watching on Facebook, says, when I downsized last year, I moved furniture that my ex-husband bought over my objections, and he left in 1989. And
Oh,
I kept the furniture because I didn't have discretionary funds to replace the items which were used. In my new house, I decided I would only have things I love, and it is so nice not to have a reminder of a painful part of my life. And I have figured out that I don't need the extra items that were in the dresser and chest of drawers.
excellent. Very good. I'm sorry that you had to, move your ex's furniture with you that you didn't like. That's a bummer. But it sounds like you have moved past that. And how wonderful to not look at furniture as like, I wouldn't have picked this anyway. This is not my idea of a good thing. And so get it out of here and let somebody else love it. Good job. That's really freeing yourself because it's probably more than one piece of furniture. It was a collection of things and now that whole collection is gone, and you can be like, la la la, he's in the past. I don't have to deal with that anymore. And I don't have to be reminded every day that he's in the past and he was part of my past. You can just let it go and have the stuff be things that you love around you. And oh my gosh, what a great place to arrive at. So I'm super happy for you. Yay. That's wonderful.
Okay, we've got a little bit of a musical instrument theme. Marcy says, my husband has a huge organ that has been played maybe 10 times since it's been in the house for many years. It was super expensive and we just never even discuss it. It is literally the elephant in the room, LOL.
Oh my. So you might want to discuss it by finding a solution, like find somebody that wants to have it. And then you can say, darling, I have this friend who I found this church that, there's a way we can give this away to someone as a donation. And here's the solution that I found. What do you think about that? Would you be willing to let them have it? I mean, I'm sure that you don't talk about it partially because no one wants to go, yeah, we shouldn't have spent that money. And so don't let that be part of the conversation. And if it's a donation, you can call it deductible and add it in if you give it to.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's saying my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah,
Sorry
you
if.
you froze up for a moment there. Um,
Okay. Sorry guys. I'm
I think,
I'm I'm still here.
yeah. Naomi says, I am keeping a whole piano because it has sentimental attachments for my daughter who lives 1,000 miles away.
Rutro. That's one that I would call your daughter and say, darling, are you okay with me letting this piano go? And, I'm sure you have pictures of her at the piano, around the piano, whatever, while she was home and using it. And so you can, let that one move on to somebody else too. Yeah, that's a piano. That's an example of something with a big footprint that if you can let the
Right.
piano go, you will get a big hunk of space back in your house. And just, remember, do you really want to move it the next time you move? Do you really want to take it with you? And if you don't, you might as well start working on getting rid of it now because getting rid of pianos takes a while. And
Right.
so you need to you need some lead time for that. So get on it. Let it move on.
Barbara says, I have a pewter coffee service. I used it a lot over
Oh.
the years, but when did I last entertain a group? I know I should release the sentimental item, but dot and then dot 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 dot. She trails off.
Right. So this is one where I would say, if you have great memories of it and it's a big service with a lot of pieces, then you can surrender part of the pieces and keep a little bit back. It doesn't matter if you break up the set, who's going to care? Sure, everybody would like to have whoever is going to inherit it, whoever is going to buy it, whoever is going to arrive with it if you donate it, wants all the pieces, but they don't know what all those pieces were. So they don't know that it's missing something right off the bat. And, maybe you keep the sugar and creamer, or maybe you keep, a plate, or maybe you keep a pitcher or something. You can keep a part of it and let the rest of it go if it's not your lifestyle anymore to use that big setup.
And Naomi added more because other commenters asked for more
Some
details
questions. Yeah,
about the
yeah.
piano, and she said, so the daughter doesn't doesn't even play the piano.
Oh,
Naomi says it would need maintenance work to stay in tune. It's not even the daughter who played it, it was just me. And now I use an electronic keyboard with headphones to avoid annoying the neighbors. So the piano is a
it's a doorstop.
monument. It's a monument to Naomi's daughter's fond feelings of Naomi playing the piano.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's super convoluted, and I think that's one that you should work on trying to get out of the house, especially because you have an alternative that you're using that you are comfortable with. I think, yeah, you need to have somebody take a picture of you sitting at it, then sit there and smile pleasantly and let somebody take your shot, and then, work on sending that on and letting that project be somebody else's.
Okay, another great comment that I know we're getting away from our prepared stuff, but
That's okay.
this is terrific and so much in the spirit of what we're trying to talk about today. M says, I just realized that I am not viewing my environment as mine. I walk through it, detach from it because of all the ugly clutter which isn't expressing who I am.
There you go. That is a great, great realization to come to that if you are in the space and you don't feel like it's yours, then oh my gosh, that is definitely you being disconnected from your environment and not living in a place that is refreshing and rejuvenating to you, right? Like you want to be in a different emotional, mental space when you're in your own house. And if that's how you feel about it, ooh, time to change that wholesale. Let's get in there. That'd be the kind of project that I would come in and be like, okay, so what are we taking out? What is not you? Let's go. Let's get it right out of there because you can then peel it down to the pieces that are you that you have and that the blanks that are there that you need to fill in with things that are more you than what you have. And everybody, you can be creative about that. You can replace that stuff from a resale store. You can do some online shopping. You can do some online buying of used stuff. It doesn't have to be a way that you spend a huge amount of money, but you can still cookie toss that space until it's something that reflects you and not someone else. Ooh, that is a big realization to get to. Good for you. So focus on that. Hold on to that and start looking at your space with a critical eye. What in here does not feel like me and needs to go? And just start taking it out. And you can worry about how it's going to look when you remove everything that doesn't seem like you. Then you can start planning, imagining, and provisioning what does feel like you and what does make you feel relaxed and supported and is a reflection of your personality. So important. Ooh, that was a good one, Ed. Thanks for
Okay,
sharing that.
thanks to M. Our last survey question asked if you had to leave your home suddenly with no certainty of ever being able to return, what's the one thing that you would take with you and why? And in the survey, I qualified that and said, assume or pretend that you don't have an emergency evacuation bag or kit prepared, because, if you've got that, obviously that's the thing you're taking with you. And I should probably have also qualified that question and said, yeah, we know you would take your family and your pets. That would,
Right.
or maybe you wouldn't, but probably.
Right.
Um, so here are some of the answers. Laura said, an art project made by my son about 25 years ago. I have it framed and hanging on the wall.
And of course, that sounds like a great one that is important to you and emotionally rich. So it's a good grab.
Dulce says, if we're talking with my heart, then my dog's ashes, then my car keys in my car. My dog and I spent many hours in my car together traveling. It was our home away from home.
I love that you would take the doggy ashes and get in the car like you always did. I think that's a really lovely idea. And it's what's emotionally important to you. So good that you grabbed it. I thank you for the vision of you and the dog's ashes getting back in the car and hitting the road again.
This was partly a, what I call a just for fun question, just sort of like
Yeah, yeah,
getting
yeah.
getting to know members of our audience and what makes them
Right.
tick. And Brenda says, I like this one a lot. Brenda says, other than the cat, I have a book of Star Trek 8 by 10 autographs. These are irreplaceable and represent decades of convention attendance.
I love that one too. How cool
We
to have autographs that remind you of all of those convention trips. That's
and
like a very contained way to reflect how you spent a bunch of your time having fun with your friends.
well,
Love
and
that.
we love our fellow Star Trek nerds.
I know, right? We totally relate to the Star Trek nerds. That's
Gail and I are
awesome.
Star Trek nerds going back to 1967, right?
Right?
Did you watch it as a kid?
Actually, my dad watched it, and
Yeah,
yeah, that was like he was one of the original OG watchers, right? And so that's why Star Trek it was a part of our lives because Daddy watched it back in the day. And
yeah.
then when they started making the Star Trek movies, it became our Christmas habit
Oh,
to go.
nice.
Like they would always release one at Christmas time, and then we would go
Yeah.
at Christmas time as a family and watch the Star Trek movie. And we did that for a long time while they were rolling out all those Star Trek direct movies. It was awesome. Beam me up, Scotty. Exactly. Yeah, you can tell
Um,
this is the age of people that grew up on Star Trek.
Brienne says, "What a painful question." It was. I know it was a tough one. I would bring my plush dog. I have a rare physical disability that presents itself clearly, and my that dog happens to look like he has the same condition as me. I pretend he does. I even bring him to my treatment appointments. I leave him in the vehicle when I go in my vehicle.
That right, but that sounds like an
That's
emotional support pet to me.
right, right. It's sort of an emotional support stuffed animal.
Right,
That
right.
seems that seems like a really
A
that's a
great thing to
treasure.
grab.
Yeah.
100%.
An anonymous respondent said, "My dog, my deceased mom's ring. I have so many things spread out, I just couldn't grab them, especially the photos I'd like to. I better start scanning them."
You do want to scan the photos, but your mom's ring is a perfect item to take away with you. You have that ring because it reminds you of her, and it's a perfect easy grab and go thing. It's good that you know as long as you know where it is, hope you know where it is. But grab and go with the ring and the dog, those are good things,
This is another favorite answer.
right?
Suzanne says, my three best bras. What is for high impact sports? My meds that I take daily, my dog and her meds. There are no handy photos of my most beloved people to grab and run, but if yes, that would be my emergency, never going back home item. Oh boy, what about a small physical list of phone numbers and addresses of my most important people?
Those are very practical. I thought
Yeah.
meds, bras, and phone numbers. That was a great list, and super practical. Got to have good bras. It's you can't be running out of the house while it's burning down with no bra on, right? So, good
Um,
job.
okay, one more comment and then we need to go to some announcements.
Okay.
Um, Catherine says, beam me up, Spotty. I think sure she meant Scotty. Beam me up,
Yeah.
Scotty, out of the clutter. It was probably an autocorrect.
If only we could transport our clutter to someone at some other location. That would be awesome.
Well, I think she's just hoping to leave the clutter behind
Oh,
and
well, there you go. Yeah,
get
that
beamed up.
works too.
Okay, we have a special thank you this week for Teresa, who is in our Zoom audience today, for
Oh, bye,
becoming
Teresa.
our newest Patreon supporter. If
Thank
you'd like to help
you.
support our efforts with a recurring monthly donation of any size, please visit cfhou.com/Patreon. Your contributions help us offset the costs of producing the webcast and will help us fund new projects that we have in the works. Thank you for your support, Teresa, and all our generous underwriters.
We do appreciate that people come in and agree to send us a little monthly donation to keep our work going. So thank you so much, Teresa. We appreciate you joining the collection of people that do that.
We are almost out of time, so I want to remind everyone we'll be back next week at our usual time, and we will have we will have turned our clocks back, so we'll be back in sync with our viewers in places where the time changed last weekend.
Right.
So, and we're going to do an Ask Us Anything episode because we've done a lot of surveys recently from which we have not collected all of the short questions and small topics. We get an awful lot of, we ask you for topic suggestions, and sometimes people suggest topics that even Gayle and I would have trouble talking about for the entire hour. So we have to save those up and do a few of them all together. So we're going to be doing some of those next week. So watch your email for an announcement. Gayle, why don't you give us the tittle?
Okay, this week's tittle is called Just Do It. This week's assignment is to spend a moment living your dream of life in a decluttered space, no matter how far away you are from your organizing goals. In our survey of this week's show, we asked our audience to describe how your life would be different if all of your clutter disappeared overnight. What new or former activities, experiences, or things would you invite into your space? If you haven't already answered this question, take a couple of moments to do it. And now find some small way in which you can experience a taste of the life that you want. For example, if your dream is to have more time and space for arts and crafts or hobbies, set aside half an hour this week to get out a few supplies and have some fun. If your dream is to cook or to entertain, clear enough space to prepare a simple dish. It doesn't have to be something super elaborate. If you're not comfortable yet having company over, maybe you can cook this special dish and ask a friend if you can bring over lunch to them to share it so that you can do your favorite thing of cooking and interact with your friend. If your dream is to relax or exercise or meditate in a clutter-free space, clear a little space on the floor, a little area, and do whatever small activity you can in service of your goal or objective. The goal here is to get a taste of what you're missing, to refresh your soul and leave yourself feeling more energized to return to the work of decluttering and organizing. And then come and tell us how it went.
Okay, if you're watching this on YouTube, we would love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. We recently hit 3,500 members in the Clutter Coaching Meetup.
It's true. It's shocking.
You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook. or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from our audience, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through the website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
I'm going to add one more plug, which is here's the address for the YouTube channel, cfhou.com/YouTube takes us directly to our channel. If you're watching on Facebook and you haven't made it to the YouTube channel, all of our other videos are over there waiting for you to watch. And then I also want to say it helps us if you like and subscribe on YouTube, if you watch over there. So if you check out a video, please click the like button if you enjoy the content. We would appreciate it so much. And I want to invite people. I never think to say this, but I would like to invite people. Please share the videos with people that you know. If you have friends you think would enjoy and benefit from the information, please suggest it to your friends. We would appreciate it so much if you could do that. Always lovely to see everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.